And we're live. Welcome to the Lakers Lounge. This is a weird live Lakers Lounge edition. Luke Walton was just involved. I'm using all the L words, even though the Lakers themselves are taking a W today. I was really impressed by this press conference. I'm joined, as always, by Harrison Fagan. Harrison, you are rocking Luke Walton's backwards cap and admitted to me before we went on the air that you don't own any non-jersey sleeveless shirts. So I guess we'll just have to make do with the long sleeve plaid. How you doing?
Yeah, I wanted to go full Luke Walton for this show. I think his press conference was pretty impressive, and I didn't have this hat on when the press conference started, but by the end I was wearing a backwards cap. It was really weird. And I gotta say, your intro about all the L's and the Lakers taking a W, that was really good. If you just came up with that on the fly, props to you.
I actually did. I'll take it. I'll take it. But I found it interesting before the press conference even started, and I thought it kind of sent a tone for how easygoing Walton is. But the Lakers snapped that picture, and I never really expanded the picture. It just looked like he was super casual walking into this thing. And only Luke Walton would make me think that he might rock like a T-shirt and jeans for an intro press conference. I thought
how amazing would that have been if he had I don't how long do you think that they had to explain to him that he couldn't walk out there like that, or did he have the suit the whole time? Was the suit their idea, his idea? We need answers. We need answers. The bottom line is we need to, after he's done doing all his exclusives or whatever, he needs to call into the show and answer this stuff for us.
Somebody, I wouldn't be all that shocked if some secretary ran up and was like, Mr. Walton, you have to wear a suit. And that's what he was just blocking her out or him out when she was they were handing the suit to him. I'm trying to avoid any of those nasty tweets that I could get coming my way here in a bit. There goes all the momentum that we had to start the show.
We made it 3 whole minutes doing well.
All right, I have to just say, I was trying to find, the most impressive tweets to get us ready to talk about this, and it was legitimately hard. I thought he said every single right thing with the perfect tone, even when Bill Plaschke was trying to get him into trouble with his dad or with Kobe or whatever. He just handled himself incredibly well and steered the conversation back to where it should have gone. And I know I couldn't possibly be the only person who said this. It's almost going to be trending. I wouldn't be shocked if anti-Byron was trending across Los Angeles by the end of that show. Did you catch that same vibe?
Yeah, the contrast was really stark because it's generally when someone like you or me is watching one of these things, we're looking for the best quotes to pull out for a piece. And today I don't think I'm writing that piece about the press conference. I believe we have Drew on that. But it would have been hard to pick which quotes were the most noteworthy because he was on message. He was kind of saying all the right things. And I think the biggest contrast that I could think of was I was thinking back to last year during these post-game shows. We'd kind of have Byron's press conference going in, and we'd see the quotes rolling in, and we'd kind of stretch and lean and be like, well, this one was kind of okay. He didn't say the worst thing in the world. Maybe you guys shouldn't hate him for this. And compared to Walton, where every single quote you're tweeting out is getting 1 million retweets because Lakers fans are really excited.
Right. It was, for me, I mean, the two that I guess stand out the most to me were him talking about building a system around the players he has, which I was texting back and forth with a good buddy during the press conference, and he brought up that he felt like Mike D'Antoni and Mike Brown also nailed their press conferences, so he's kind of taking that reaction with a grain of salt. And when he said that, I said, oh, that's a good point. But then I looked back onto Walton saying how he builds his system, or the system he's going to run is supposed to optimize the players that he has, that it should be dependent upon the players he has. And that's not D'Antoni. I mean, for everything D'Antoni was good at, I thought he did a lot of good things with some players who wouldn't typically put up the numbers that he did. But the system he ran sometimes went in contrast to what the players that he was given were supposed to be doing. And Walton put a nail in that theory right away today.
Yeah, and to be fair, in the end of D'Antoni's first kind of partial year, he did adapt to mostly going to two post players, and they did a lot of stuff out of horns. But it took him a while, and like he had growing pains there, where he was trying to bring Powell off the bench, and he did say, like, as entertaining as D'Antoni's press conferences were at times, sometimes they were entertaining for the reason that, like, oh my God, did he really just say that about that player? And like you could see how, like, even though he nailed the press conferences in terms of, you know, giving people quotability, you can see how that would have upset the locker room at times, which is kind of more important than us having something to laugh about, I guess, for his perspective. And so that's like my only minor disagreement with the D'Antoni thing. Mike Brown, I always thought, like, said the right things. He seemed like a nice enough guy. He just wasn't that great of a coach.
Right. And like you said, I'm just comparing Mike D'Antoni's press conference to this one, and the contrast that went on there. And then the other thing that Luke mentioned today. Oh my God, I almost called him Scott. Ooh, let's get out of that mode. But the other thing that Luke said today that I found really interesting was his take on analytics. Right, all last season, the storyline was Byron is completely, or if not completely, but very against input, statistical input, deciding what he's doing on the basketball court. And I thought Luke Walton today, when he was asked, hey, what do you think about, stats? And if you're presented a stat, how you handle that, and how will that input affect the way you coach? And he was very good with that too, saying something along the lines of, if it brings additional information to the table and it's something that we can also talk about moving forward, that how could that possibly be a bad thing? And again, that's complete paraphrasing. He didn't say that exactly, but it was something along those terms. And man, that was great. I couldn't even tweet it. My mind was boggled. I couldn't even tweet it.
Yeah, and you'd think just that kind of makes it. That's what we expected, right? After we saw kind of the culture that they had up there in Golden State, it would have been really surprising if he came down here and he was like, "Well, the one thing I didn't like about what we did with the Warriors was all that shooting threes stuff." It just, I really thought that that's what lost us those last 3 games. Shout out to Steve Kerr ruining my perfect season. Like, I wasn't expecting something like that. So the analytics stuff was not that surprising to me, that he kind of, as a younger coach, is more accepting of that kind of stuff than the gratitude, man up, eyeball test.
Right. I guess it's not so much that I was surprised, because, yes, I anticipated him saying that kind of stuff. It's just to actually hear it and to have it put in such clear terms compared to... Yeah, compared to the anti-public relations department that is Byron Scott. It was really cool to hear that. And the other thing, along the lines that you're talking about in how Golden State and his time in Golden State impacted this message, he was the guy who listened to the video coordinator and relayed the message to Steve Kerr that they should, play Iguodala more or something like that in the finals last year.
Year, yeah.
And I shouldn't have been surprised, but it's been so terrible the last 2 years under Byron that I was completely dumbfounded.
Though one more thing that I also really liked was when he was talking about the style that he wants to play and what he can take from Golden State. I did think that it was really good that I liked his note about Randall's rebounding and ball handling ability, giving them more chances to push pace like they did in Golden State, and how he kind of specifically is noting that already off the bat. That's something, again, that we kind of expected that he was going to try and implement, but it was good to hear it confirmed, I think.
Right. I agree. Again, I think he was talking about, or early on, right when he was hired, wasn't there something along the lines of him saying that Randall could play that Draymond Greenish role, even though...
I remember Randall saying stuff about it. I don't remember if Luke did. He might have.
My details are kind of up in the air at this point about that. But yes, it makes a ton of sense. And honestly, that's something that I was hoping to look forward to last season. Right, with Randall healthy, that the Lakers could really push pace, but it was just kind of an up and down kind of thing. And with the pieces that they have, especially if, and this will kind of take us into the summer league conversation and some of the draft stuff. But today, it was reported that the 76ers told Ben Simmons' camp that he's going to be the first overall selection, meaning the Lakers will, by all likelihood or in all likelihood, wind up with Brandon Ingram. Those are between Russell, Clarkson, Randall, and Ingram. Those are 4 really good athletes. And then even when Larry Nance is on the court, those are still going to be 4 really good athletes on the court, basically at all times. And that's a really exciting brand of basketball. And that's something, again, that Walton said he wants to bring with him, is that exciting up and down kind of style of play that Lakers fans can really look forward to.
Yeah, maybe not lineup of death, but maybe lineup of injury of some type.
You're right. Yeah. Lineup of paper cuts.
Yeah. No, come on. They're better than that. They're better than that. We'll say like
hey,
lineup of what?
Have you ever had a paper cut like under your nail? Like, go ahead and try to tell me that's
really
not
are
excruciating.
Man up.
I'm not kidding. This is a short aside, but during the finals, I was tweeting so much that I developed like an ingrown nail, and I wound up not being able to use my middle finger, and I almost tweeted that screw the Michael Jordan cold game. I was tweeting through basically losing a finger. So that's the extent of my man-uppedness.
I've never been more ashamed that I know you. And that's saying something.
All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to the Summer League. And you predicted before Walton's presser that you thought he would probably be the coach out there in Las Vegas, and it still wouldn't shock me at all to find that out. I was actually somewhat surprised that you didn't wind up being exactly right on that. He said that he'll be out there, but it isn't really clear yet if he's actually going to coach. What do you think would be the benefit to him not coaching? Like, why wouldn't he coach as a first-time head coach?
Honestly, because maybe he just needs a little bit of a break from that type of grind, and he wants to give his assistants the shot. I don't know. Maybe let them get a little bit more familiar, see what they look like running his stuff and running his drills. Mm-hmm. I don't know exactly what the benefit would be of it for the Lakers young players directly, but I'm just trying to think of possible reasons. I mean, he might honestly just need the break.
I guess I kind of lobbed that question to you without any warning, so I guess I'll try to answer it too. One thing that Phil Jackson always used to say was that there wasn't any actual coaching or much actual coaching in an actual basketball game, based on his style. All the coaching took place in practice and stuff like that. So for Walton, if he could take a step back and be elevated from the game, like I didn't understand Byron sitting courtside under the baseline where the angle for what he'd be hoping to see isn't very good. If I were Walton, I'd probably try to get some seats kind of elevated above the court so that he can watch how the sets are developing and which players look more comfortable in certain spots. Whereas Byron,
after seeing that press conference, I wouldn't be surprised, based on my timeline during that thing, if he could just levitate above the court.
Yeah, he just sprouted wings. But I think that would be, I guess, the quote unquote benefit to why he wouldn't want to coach beyond the rest issue, which rest is a major thing. Like, we keep on hearing that about that for players, but coaches, I mean, Steve Kerr missed a good portion of last year because his back was breaking down. I can't imagine stress and not sleeping very much is very good on that front.
Yeah, I mean, he just might need a break. I still am predicting he'll end up coaching. I just think that he hasn't decided yet. I think if he's already committing to being out there and being at every practice, I think it's only a matter of time before he commits to coaching. And that's just my opinion and my thoughts. But I did see coming through here, speaking of Summer League, that D'Angelo Russell just directly confirmed that he'll be playing in Summer League, which Mark Medina already reported this morning that Russell would be playing and Randall would not be. And I had already, when I talked to Anthony Brown at that 2K event a couple weeks ago, he had said that he and Larry Nance Jr. were definitely playing and they weren't sure about Russell and Randall. And so it sounds like those 3 guys are going to be back. And then we're going to have the new pick coming in here, the 2 new picks coming in here. And so I think Summer League is going to be exciting. But again, I mean, we thought that last year too.
Well, I mean, Mark Madsen's a terrible coach. So
we don't know. We don't know that he's the worst. He was trying to implement Byron's stuff. So we do have to give him like a little bit of kind of an incomplete for that.
My thing on that front about which guys will be playing or whatever, sometimes these things tend to be fluid, especially, a few years ago it was a lot more fluid than it is now. Nowadays, because Summer League has become such a large event, in part because the Lakers have been so bad, and you're going to see potential, guys that you're going to be watching starters play out there in Vegas for way cheaper than you would see them at Staples Center, that it's become this bigger thing. But for Randall, I could see him going out to Vegas and maybe playing a game or two, but not wanting to commit to anything right now, right? Because he did miss all of his rookie season, which on one hand you say, well, he's technically going to be a second-year player, and second-year player play in these things. But on the other hand, it's like if he gets hurt again, then he loses another full year. So that's not what you'd really want there.
Yeah, and I think it might also just be the stature thing of being a third-year player. You just don't want to be there and have that stigma. Like, I think that stuff plays into it sometimes more than maybe we think about.
Right. And while we're on Randall, while we're on the topic, just before I forget, because these things, I tend to forget these things all the time. Congratulations, Julius Randle, on getting engaged. That's very exciting stuff. That's probably the biggest decision of your life, and all the best moving forward. Way to go.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to see him get to announce that this morning. That's always fun to get to see, people make that decision. As long as it's not one of your friends and it seems like it's clearly a bad one. But this doesn't seem to be that case, so congratulations to Randall.
Yep, we all have experience on the case that you're talking about there. No, yeah. That is ever fun. All right, so do you have anything else to add about Summer League? I guess we should talk about the actual dates that they're playing, which I believe are they playing on the 8th? Are they playing?
I think it's the 8th, 9th, and 11th, if I remember correctly.
And then it goes into tournament play.
Yeah. Yeah, and then so they'll have a 4th and 5th game, but that's going to be based on seeding.
Mm-hmm. I plan on going out there. I have everything set up. I am actually flying out there. I hate the drive out to Vegas, and the drive back from Vegas is even worse. So I'm looking forward to getting out there. And if anybody, if you happen to run into us, please say hi. Harrison will buy you a beer. And
oh wait, hold up, hey now. Let's not false advertise.
But really, though, you will be out there. I will be out there. I believe a couple of the Lakers Outsiders guys will be out there. Ben from Silver Screen and Roll will be out there, and then a whole bunch of other people from Lakers Twitter. So it's always a really good. Last year was one of the most fun experiences of my life. If you can get out there, please try to. It's a lot of fun.
I guess I'll ask you this, before we move on from Summer League, I'll ask you really quickly, who do you think that this Summer League is kind of most important to? And I can give you a second because I kind of have my answer already, so I can give you a second if you need it.
I'll just say the name that popped into my mind immediately, and it's Russell. But you go ahead and build on it more. I'll think about it a little bit more.
I think it'll be important for him to show that he just dominates out there as a second-year player with a year of experience under his belt. But I think that this Summer League is going to be really key for Anthony Brown, just to see if he's going to be anything or be a part of the team going forward. Because, last year he you would have thought would have had a big opportunity with the Lakers hold the wing. He didn't really get it, and part of that was because of his shooting, and it just fell off a cliff in the NBA after being really good in college. So I think, honestly, if he doesn't show some improved shooting in this Summer League, I think that his roster spot in training camp might be a little bit more in jeopardy than we might have predicted a year ago, just because if he can't shoot and they're bringing in another second-round pick here, we don't know what position that guy's going to play. Brandon Ingram's going to presumably play the wing, and the Lakers will probably be looking for free agents there. So it will be interesting to see how he plays with kind of that anvil hanging over that, because this really is his big shot to show that he can be a contributor going forward.
Yeah, he could find himself out of the rotation completely very quickly.
It's just the math starts to look tricky when you really think about it.
It really does. I mean, either he learns to play at the 2 somehow, or he loses his way altogether, because Ingram plays his position, and then the Lakers, one would think, are going to look at, well, we'll talk. Perfect segue. Look at this.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll keep moving on in a second. But I would say Russell, I think, still wins it for me as an overall storyline for the Lakers, because Anthony Brown being Anthony Brown, like if he doesn't make a rotation or the roster, nobody loses any sleep. But if D'Angelo Russell, quote unquote, underperforms, and the expectations are going to be really high on D'Angelo Russell, if he doesn't play up to the expectations that he's going to have, that's not the kind of tone you want to set going into a big second year when all the excitement is you got a new coach. Kobe is gone. All those distractions are gone. Hopefully by that time, Nick Young will be shot into the sun, and there's no reason for you not to play well here. And if he doesn't, that's a really bad look that could get really bad really quickly.
Yeah, I kind of predicted today that I think he'll be this year's version of Clarkson, where he just looks like he's head and shoulders above the competition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Clarkson last year was the best player on the court at every moment that he was on the court.
Yeah, pretty much.
Speaking of the best players on the court, anytime they're on the court, LeBron James is still enjoying, one would think, the best summer probably of his life, right? The best few days, aside from the birthings of his children and getting married and all that stuff. Yeah, but professionally, one would think this is as great as he's ever felt, which is odd to me that the next step from that is, all right, this feels really good. Peace out, Cleveland. I'm going to LA. The rumors just won't go away. I was actually listening to Dan Le Batard today, and he was speaking to some of the likeliness. Without sounding like I'm rambling, because I've done a lot of talking on this show, but basically Le Batard was saying that at every stage, LeBron has made the best business decision for himself. If you look back on it, right? Leaving Cleveland in the first place to go to Miami, all the jersey sales from that, and all the hype surrounding that move, and then going back to Cleveland, and then all the idiots who burned their jerseys and now have to go buy brand new ones. And this time he wins the title. And if he does go to LA, it's hard to knock the actual business decision behind it, right? Going to a major market and everything, but the PR decision is what stops everybody from really lending any credence to the reports or to the rumors. I'll give you you have the floor. Why won't it happen?
This whole idea that LeBron James somehow winning a title for Cleveland means that no one's going to be upset with him if he leaves for the Lakers is like patently absurd to me. I don't know how that, like, I just don't know how you get that out of your mouth and then go like, yep, that makes sense. It's just like, they're still going to be upset. Like, he leaves Cleveland right after they win the first championship to go to the Lakers that are rebuilding and like possibly team up with like Kevin Durant, if you believe these pie in the sky things that people are throwing around there. That doesn't really make sense to me. I guess maybe if he's teaming up with Durant, it does make like a little bit of sense for him if he's trying to win, but like the West is still a way tougher road to the finals, even with those two on the same team. And the Lakers are still kind of rebuilding, even though they have all this cap space. These young guys, he'd have to go through the same thing he went through last year, where he's just getting really pissed off all the time because these young guys don't know how to win yet. And we've made fun of that cliche, but like on this losing team and people talking about it on this team that's clearly not very good. But when you're on a team that's a title contender, like that is a real concern when these guys just don't understand the habits and practice stuff that goes into it.
Right. Interestingly enough, the guys he would go, he'd be going to play with again would have to break habits again that they learned from Byron Scott, just like people said about Kyrie Irving, which is hilarious to me. But
so, at this point, do we call Byron Scott fertilizer? He just like goes into a place, he stocks it with young draft picks so that LeBron can come there.
Sure, yeah, that's it. The Byronizer. All right, so everything that you said made a ton of sense. I'm going to present as a devil's advocate reasons why I guess I won't be talked into it. Like, I guess it's hard for me to say this because I don't believe a single word of what I'm about to say, right?
And you can't, you also, the thing that you pointed out to me yesterday before I wrote that post on these rumors is that normally, like this Stephen A. Smith stuff, I just throw it away. You know, he's trying to get aggregated, whatever it is. Like he's just throwing stuff out there that he's kind of heard, whatever. But he does seem to be fairly well sourced in LeBron's camp. He was first on both LeBron to Miami and LeBron back to Cleveland, or if he wasn't first, he was very early before it was fully reported and people had realized this was actually what was happening. And so he might have some sources in LeBron's camp. You can't totally dismiss it outright, but just the reasoning that people are giving for him doing this just doesn't really make a ton of sense to me.
Right.
Ahead,
so
man.
here,
What's your reasons?
yeah, here I go spewing some reasons. All right. So first off, the thinking isn't necessarily, or I guess the point I would make if I were charged with selling LeBron on this, at this point, there is nothing anybody can say to him that really matters, right? They can't call him that he isn't clutch. They can't say he can't win one without Dwayne Wade or Chris Bosh. They can't say all these things about, you know, whether or not he can win the big game. He went into Game 7 against the greatest regular season in the history of the NBA and beat them on their court with a masterful performance. He's the first player in NBA history to lead the entire play, you know, the playoff series, a series of any length in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and I think blocks were even in there, which is insane. That's never been done. Not even like a 3-game series like it used to be back in the day where you just have somebody who goes nuts for 3 games. LeBron did that over a 7-game series. And at this point, any criticism that gets lobbed his way at this point sounds like Skip Bayless's petty ass sounding like an idiot, right? And that's how it's going to be.
If you're criticizing LeBron for anything other than like minute stuff at this point, then you just have a personal vendetta. Like, just admit you don't like him.
Right.
Like that's kind of where it is. Like, if you don't like him personally, then that's fine, but don't act like you have some like insight into why he's actually not as great as everybody thinks.
Right. So with all that said, with everything that I just said, the case I just made there, if I'm LeBron, I'm saying criticism doesn't matter at this point. I'm a made man. I can do whatever I want. And even when he left Cleveland to go to Miami, when he said that, when he announced that he was going back to Cleveland, it's not like anybody in Cleveland was like, no, we don't want you. You're done. You're dead to us. Never come back.
They'll take him back a third time when he's 37 for a farewell tour.
Exactly. They'd weep for a 1-day contract with the guy, right? On the day he retires. So,
okay.
But
okay, Ryan Morton is not representative of all Cleveland fans.
But so I on that front there, if I'm LeBron and I'm saying my career to this point has been built to get to have what just happened on Sunday. That's a culmination of all the hard work that I've ever put into what I wanted my career to be. And now I want to not rest on my laurels. I wouldn't say if he came to Los Angeles or if he went to Miami again, he wouldn't he obviously wouldn't go there and be like, all right, y'all, I'm getting fat. Get ready for Vin Baker up in this B. But I do think that, you know, if he does go to Los Angeles or if he does leave Cleveland, it would be I made it, man. I want to play with my friends. I want to finish my career the way I want to finish my career. And here I go. And the thing with the Lakers is, no, they are not a winning team right now. That is obviously blatantly untrue. But they have all the cap space. So if they can say, hey, LeBron, do you want to come over with Kevin Durant? Hey, Kevin, do you want to come over and play with LeBron? Cool. Well, now we have a couple guys like Julius Randle and or Brandon Ingram or Larry Nance who become expendable that they can move and get pieces so there isn't so much duplication at that spot. LeBron has said he wants to play with Chris Paul. Maybe try to make that move there, and you assemble the pieces that LeBron would want, and you can. There's a selling case that could be made, but I want to say I'm saying all of this with the important, bold-faced caveat that I don't believe this is actually going to happen. I just think if you get him in a meeting, there are things you could say that might be able to sway him if he's already thinking about doing it anyway.
Yeah, they got to get someone other than Adam Levine this time. Like, they need to plan this out like more than a day in advance.
I will
just like, oh, Adam Levine walked by the Lakers facility. Why don't you come shoot in a Lakers thing so that we can get a tampering charge.
Or was it? Didn't they get fined for the hashtag for LaMarcus Aldridge too? Hey,
Yeah, we
Lakers,
saw
get your stuff together this offseason, okay? Do your thing right. Do better.
Yeah, they need to get like I don't know who are they going to get for LeBron? Like they got to get like Jay-Z to pose in a Lakers jersey or something.
Or Rihanna.
Oh my God. No comment.
I will redact it. All right, so I think that's about all I have on LeBron. We've been talking for quite a bit. Any closing thoughts on anything or anything that hasn't come up yet?
No, I think we hit most of it. I mean, it's been an eventful off season where we're going to try and continue. We're going to try and get these podcasts going again with more frequency now. I think because now we're going to hit the draft, so we'll obviously have one after that. We're going to hit free agency not long after that. We're going to be both of us are going to be in summer league, so you guys can enjoy more awkward live we're in the same room shows from Anthony's hotel room / our studio. I mean. And yeah, so it's going to be an exciting summer to follow the Lakers, and please subscribe to us on iTunes, rate us highly, get us above those like Bill Simmons podcasts or whatever. We're competitive. We're trying to get up there.
we're right there.
Yeah, we're just real close, just like 2 more ratings, and we're going to be good. But no, seriously, we appreciate the viewership, and we're going to try and get these going pretty frequently now.
Right. I plan on having one either on draft night or the day after the draft, if not the day of, leading up to the draft and all that stuff. But really at this point, a lot of the surprises were taken away by the Sixers saying that they were going to take Ben Simmons as they did today. So not really much to really plan on before that, but free agency is going to be wild. I do think that's going to be insane. All right.
Crazy.
Thank you very much, Harrison. Thanks, like Harrison said, thank you everybody for listening today. We had a lot of people watching this show, so thank you everybody who was watching today. And I can't wait to start talking about the Lakers again. I wrote an article about LeBron today for the Sports Fan Journal, and I just want to start writing glowing things about the Lakers again. That'll be fun. Talk to you later, Harrison.
All right, yeah.